Hi, this is Shay, a moderator with Crossing Over to Homeschooling. Today I'm going to be talking to you about a curriculum that has increasingly become more popular, the good and the beautiful. Before I get into that, I just want to let you know that you can go to our website, crossingovertohomeschooling.com, for state laws, a support group finder. Members have access to a curriculum finder, field trip finder, over 1,000 different resources, lap books, unit studies, and organizational forms. We also have a Facebook page, Crossing Over to Homeschooling, that offers support and advice to new and homeschoolers alike. All right, let's get into the good and the beautiful. All right, first I will go ahead and show you the items. I have both downloaded and printed items off. I did that earlier on in the year, and I have ordered items. It is free to print, but I want to show you something. So this is not including the Course 2 workbook for Level 4. So while it's free to print, it is a lot of paper. Honestly, for the price, I would go ahead and purchase them. These are really high quality workbooks. Just this workbook alone costs $10 plus shipping. But as you can see, it has thick pages. It's just a very high quality workbook. It has a high quality front cover. The only flaw in purchasing it over printing it is that when you print it, it's easier to hole punch and stick in a binder. This isn't quite as binder friendly. And that's my preferred method, is to stick their work all in a binder with tabs for each subject. So a little bit more difficult to do with this, but these are such high quality materials. So for Level 4, and I will tell you my daughter is in 5th grade, and I would say she's pretty on track in language arts, you know, whatever on track. And the good and the beautiful is a very advanced curriculum. So you wanna make sure that before you purchase this curriculum, that you go ahead and do the placement testing. Because if your child is at grade level, the chances are they're going to go one level back for the good and the beautiful language arts. Okay, Level 4, some levels are different. Some of them come with a separate book of readers. This one did not have a separate book for readers. I actually love this. I wish every level was like it, because what you have here is you have your work, and then right after the work, I guess we haven't started the story yet there. Right after the work, you will read the story. And then as soon as the story is over, so there's the story, then you'll answer the questions about it. So there were some pages at the front where they weren't getting into the story yet, so I had to skip around a little bit. But I love that for this portion of the program, you just open it. The lessons almost always start out with challenging word practice. Here, this is more typical of their lessons. They start out with challenging word practice, which I absolutely love. I love that she has to read this portion to me because I can help correct her if she's pronouncing things wrong. The challenging words are words that would be above grade level. So she's practicing how to read them. If she doesn't know a word, I tell her to pause and ask me what it means, and I can explain the meaning of the word. Occasionally in parentheses, it'll have a shortened meaning of the word. And she gets to practice her dictation skills or her oral reading skills. So I really love that almost every day starts out like this. Then it goes into the daily spelling drill. I can't comment on the spelling, we don't do it. Spelling has been one of my middle child's challenges, and we found a program that works that I'll discuss in another video that works for her. So when we switched language arts programs, I did not switch spelling. So if it's not broke, don't fix it, right? Okay, then if there's a story, right here is where it would go into the story, and then right afterwards you would have your discussion questions. So right here is, they're in the middle of a writing assignment, so it's not doing that. Oh, and at the end, after you read the story, you'll notice here, there are very short grammar. So it'll ask a question about the story, typically, and then it will have a short vocabulary or grammar assignment. Occasionally it does have some diagramming, which I'm learning how to do because I never did diagramming. So if you think that diagramming is something that'll work for your child, you can do that. But it also has the editing portion. So it does include grammar, but I like it because grammar takes maybe 2 minutes to complete. So your kid isn't focusing on any one thing in language arts for an extended period of time, but they're getting it every single day, which is something else that I love about this. So it's not just this long, drawn out process that your kid's going to hate. Then you have a creative companion. And in the creative companion for level 4, I know each level is a little bit different. This is the creative writing. This is some of the geography, not all of the geography, but some of the geography and the art. But the pictures are absolutely, they're beautiful, they're sweet. Each year they focus on a different art technique. So this year she's focusing on pastels. And what they'll do is they'll do the geography of a country. They'll learn about some of the famous artists about the country. They'll read some poems about the country. They'll do creative writing about that area. And then they'll do some art that's similar to artists from that country. So here's Belgium. She would have traced the map of Belgium. The Belgian twins was one of the stories that she was reading in her course book. So it all kind of ties it together, which I really like. It helps her to make those connections. And then the one thing about this is when you have a writing project, you do kind of have to stay on top of your kids because you have to go through the whole writing process with them. But there's not like a worksheet that says, do this outline, and then another worksheet that has you editing, and you just kind of have to know for the creative writing that that's what you're going to do and just follow through. It'll designate like 3 to 5 days for a writing project, and you kind of have to follow up with your child that they're actually doing what they're supposed to be doing. Okay, the next component are the geography and grammar cards, which you can print. If you print, I absolutely suggest that you laminate these. So I have them, I keep them in one bundle and then split them in half and go through them. I have been really surprised. I have never used flashcards for language arts before. Mostly we've only done flashcards for like multiplication or division and maybe a little bit for geography. But I'm surprised at how much my daughter is retaining. So here's where a lot of the grammar comes in. So what are the 4 sentence types? And then on the back, it tells you the 4 sentence types. So we add a couple new ones each day, which actually you do grammar twice a week, geography twice a week. But each time we add just a couple new cards. And she has, at this point, I would say she has about 15 of these memorized, and I'm actually learning some things that I didn't realize about grammar from these cards. So they're pretty great. And then it's the same with the geography cards. It starts with the United States. So it'll have a state and they'll have to give the name. Then it goes into, you have to identify the capital, and it also goes into Europe. It starts out with continents and oceans. So these are just really great for understanding what is where in the world. And you only do them twice a week. It takes maybe 5 minutes each time that you do them. So that's another thing about this program. There's nothing in this program where you're going to be doing one thing for more than 15 minutes. And 15 minutes is really stretching it. Most likely that would just be the reading of the literature. Okay, so I want to get into some more of the pros and cons of the good and the beautiful. Or at least for the language arts. I haven't done any of their other programs, only the language arts. I'm very pleased with it. My daughter has requested to do it again next year, so that's a huge win for me. Okay, so some of the pros are the short lessons, which we had discussed, that it includes art and geography, and it ties it all together usually with the story that they're reading. The books that are in here are, I would consider them quality literature. They are all positive character classics. So you're going to get the language that you get in classics, and they all have positive character. She's very, very specific about making sure that she doesn't have books where the kids are disrespectful or snotty or thieves or, different character traits that you wouldn't want your child copying. She's very specific that none of these stories have that, which is a pro, and to a degree it's a con. If your child isn't used to reading wholesome stories and they're used to what Jenny Phillips calls roller coaster books, then they could find the literature dull and boring. My daughter has only had one story so far that she just really didn't like and just kind of had to deal with getting through until she could get to the next one. And the stories don't take very long either. But that could definitely be a con for somebody. If their child isn't used to reading those, you could either just push through it until they get used to it, or say this curriculum isn't for us. My child needs fast action and humor constantly in their literature. So this is not that type of literature. This is the Belgian twins. This is Heidi. A lot of these stories are like 1800s Europe stories of children. So that's what kind of literature you're going to get in here. There is a large emphasis on quality character. And that is one of the big pros to this curriculum, and that is one of the ways that she makes all of her decisions regarding all of her curriculum is, does it stand up to the kind of character that we want to instill in our children? So another positive is they're reading poetry almost every single day. Their read-alouds, sometimes their read-alouds will be some kind of factual excerpt, but usually it's poetry. Occasionally I will go ahead and read the poetry to her just so that she can get a better idea of the rhythm of the poetry. And she's gotten pretty good at reading poetry aloud and having that nice flow in her voice when she's reading the poetry. So that's another huge plus to this program. All right, some of the cons. It does have parental involvement. You aren't involved the entire time, but you do have to sit there while your child reads those portions aloud to you. Your child may have questions at the end about the grammar, especially until they get the hang of doing things like diagramming, if you choose to do the diagramming. And then with the creative writing projects, you're going to want to keep up on them every day. Like, okay, have you finished? All right, it's time to edit. Let's go ahead and edit. Then you check their editing. So it is a little bit parental involved, but I would say I spend maybe 15 minutes a day with my daughter working on the good and the beautiful, and she does the rest herself. And I think it takes her about 30 minutes a day to completely complete it. Completely complete. Okay. So another con is they may need another spelling. I've seen a lot of parents say, well, my child tested in the spelling that's 4 levels below the level that I think that they should be at. Well, the spelling doesn't always line up with your child's reading comprehension or grammar or writing ability level. So if that's the case for your child, or if you have a child that's really a hands-on learner, they're going to need a different type of spelling program. And the spelling advances, I think, in this program very quickly. So you can absolutely use the spelling that comes in this program, but there is a good chance that you're going to still have to invest in a spelling program, at least for the elementary years. All right, that is my wrap up of The Good and the Beautiful. I want to thank you guys for watching. If you've used The Good and the Beautiful and you have some tips, advice, if you have your own review of it, go ahead and leave it down in the comments. If you have questions about The Good and the Beautiful language arts, go ahead and leave that in the comments as well. I want to remind you to check out our Facebook page, crossing over to homeschooling.com. Thanks and happy homeschooling.